We're joined by education activist Hendrick Makaneta. Hendrick, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time tonight. So if it wasn't a surprise, it means that the education department was well aware of the consequences of some of the decisions being made under lockdown. The question, of course, that comes to mind is, what did they do to lessen the impact of that?
Well, Kathy, it appears that nothing much was done, to lessen the impact of COVID-19, in a sense that if you go into the annual teaching plans of a wide range of grades within the schooling system, most of them are still the same. In actual fact, there are some topics that have been removed from the annual teaching plan during COVID-19. And even today, some of those topics have not been brought back. And so the issue of, grade 4 to learners who are unable to read for meaning comes into play in a sense that, learners are not taught with a high order comprehension skills. Teachers only use the low order comprehension skills to teach, particularly those that are in township schools, as well as rural communities where government schools are found, as opposed to private schools.
How do we begin to solve this problem, Hendrick? And do you get a sense that the Department of Education is actually ahead of this issue? It's one thing to acknowledge the problem, but the reality is that, the department is the policy maker around education in this country. They sit in a much more powerful position than the rest of society when it comes to addressing this very issue.
Well, perhaps we must acknowledge the steps that the minister is taking in relation to the Read to Lead campaign, which she has started. And our only concern is that that campaign, which is aimed at improving, the reading capacity of learners so that they can read for meaning. Our challenge is that this policy or this campaign rather is not rolled out throughout the schools in South Africa. And of course, we must also take into cognizance the fact that the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill will also move with the necessary program of ensuring that grade R learners, it becomes compulsory for every grade R learner to be at school. And of course, when I read the bill, I saw that there will be consequences of not complying with that particular clause, particularly for parents who decide to keep their children at home, children of school-going age. I think that perhaps the bill, when the time comes, it will be able to assist in a sense that at least we can have develop these learners at an early stage. Kefi, you'll probably agree with me that even when you build a house, it is important that your foundation should be strong. And currently, our foundation is not strong in the education system. We seem to be focusing a lot in the higher grades, such as grade 12, as well as grade 10 and 11. That is where the most qualified teachers are found. And we have neglected our foundation phase as well as the intermediate phase. The issue of Saturday classes as well. If you check throughout the country, it's only those grade 12 teachers who also go an extra mile by going to teach on a Saturday, as opposed to the lower grades wherein there's not much activity.
The reality, of course, is that it's not just about getting learners to school. It's about what happens once you have them in the classroom. Do you think there's enough honest conversation taking place about the challenges that teachers are facing that also become an inhibitor to the kind of quality education that should be taking place, or quality learning, rather, that should be taking place?
Of course not, Kathy. Teachers feel really overworked if you also look at the paperwork that they have to embark upon from time to time. The teaching time is often not enough when you look at the time period that is allocated for assessments as well. And so, teachers are complaining about administrative work that they have to deal with, which is required by the department, in particular the districts, as well as the province from time to time. And this hampers on the quality of learning and teaching. And at the same time, I've already spoken about, the lower grades, the need to embark upon the foundation phase. But at the same time, you'll realize that South Africa as a country is behind when you compare it with many other countries of the world when it comes to, the performance of our learners, particularly in gateway subjects such as mathematics and science. You'll recall that at some point there was this international study which found that South Africa came out last when compared to other countries of the world. The trends in international mathematics and science studies, it has shown that our learners are not doing very well in that field. And this impacts negatively because as we speak now, we are sitting with a huge number of unemployed young people. The majority of these young people are coming from the basic education sector. Some of them have left with just a senior certificate, a matric certificate. Some of them just dropped out. And they add an additional challenge to the problem that government must resolve, in the mainstream economy of our country.
Hendrick Makaneta is an education activist. Thanks for your time tonight.